This is a reminder, Class Connect sessions are recorded and distributed for learning purposes that are listed here. As always, be respectful, appropriate, and participate. Please don't share personal information during the class for your own security reasons. So guys, we are in the January 22nd attendance ticket. The link is in the chat box for you along with our password. You do, Jeremy, yes, you always get a little bit of a break between your quarters. So again, I'll talk about that in a few moments, but thanks for reminding me. So make sure you get that open. Make sure you get your green check up there. I do have 7 green checks already. Looking good. If you're having any issues opening it up, please give me a red X and then let me know what's going on, because I do want to make sure everyone is able to get in. Looking good, guys. Okay, so there are only 2 days left of quarter number 2. Kind of crazy to think about. So today is Tuesday. Again, we didn't have school yesterday due to Martin Luther King Day. Hope it was a good day. Hope you did something in remembrance yesterday. Okay, no worries, Gabriel. Thanks for letting me know. Just make sure you save the password. Okay, save the password just in case you get kicked out. So today we are going to be completing the 11B exam, which is your last real assignment of the quarter. Wednesday and Thursday, there are no new assignments, so you can use those days to complete anything that's missing, or remember, you can retake anything that you have failed. Remind me, guys, in the chat box, how many attempts do you get on every assignment, whether it's a lab, a quiz, an exam? How many attempts do you get? Tell me in the chat box. Tell me in the chat box. Yeah, you actually get 5, right? So if you don't do well the first time, keep trying, do it again, come to tutoring, and I am more than happy to help you out with anything that you are struggling with. It's also helpful. You can actually look at your old attempts. If you go underneath progress and you scroll down to your quizzes, you can click on your quizzes and look at your old attempts. That way you can see what you got right, what you got wrong, and that should help you on your next attempts as well. If you need any help with that, again, come to support sessions. I'd love to help you figure that out. Thursday is the last day of quarter number 2, and keep in mind Friday you don't have any school. The teachers are using that as a personal work day, so students do not need to be there on Friday. So you definitely have a nice long weekend. So let me just talk about that a little bit more. Again, today is the 22nd. So today we are working on the last part of the exam, part 2. Wednesday, Thursday, again, there are no new assignments, so either use it to catch up on anything you're missing, or if you have been doing all of your assignments and you're done with everything, then Wednesday, Thursday will be super relaxing for you, and you can kind of chill, coasting, knowing that you are going to pass the class at the end of the quarter. Again, Thursday's the last day. What time do you have to turn things in until? When's the last minute you can turn things in? Oh, interesting, Tucker. Yeah, 11:59. So remember, guys, don't turn anything in. You won't be able to turn anything in after 11:59 p.m. I also recommend don't wait until that last hour anyways, because again, the system does tend to crash. So if you wait until the last hour and you can't get something turned in because the system has crashed, unfortunately, I won't be able to give you credit for it. No matter what you tell me over email or phone call or whatever, I just can't do that, just because that wouldn't be fair to the other students who turned things in earlier. Okay? And then again, Friday and Monday, you actually do have off. So that gives you a nice long 4-day weekend so that you are nice and fresh to start school back up on next Tuesday, the 29th. Smiley faces if this makes sense to all of you. Again, we have today, tomorrow, and Thursday left, and that's it. And again, courses are closed after that time. So no more assignments will be able to turn in. We are done with the courses. It's not like a 2-quarter thing. It's 1 quarter. Yes, we are off this Friday. Exactly, Annalise. Cool. Okay, so today we are doing the short answer section of the exam. Super, super easy, guys, because it is only 3 questions. Now, that being said, sometimes people are a little bit intimidated because it is short answer, which means you do need to answer in complete sentences and using your own words. Okay, so it can't just be one-word answers, can't be abbreviations, can't be texting, like you can't type like you're texting. It needs to be grammatically correct. So complete sentences, and this is especially important. Make sure you use your own words. Now, that being said, the information I give you, the examples I give you, all of the answers are in this lesson, okay? So you should absolutely use that information. Absolutely, you can use the examples that I give you. But I just ask that you either summarize it or paraphrase it, which just means to kind of rewrite it in your own words, just so that you're not copying it word for word, okay? So if I tell you that DNA is an example of a nucleic acid, You just need to kind of reword it and be like, an example of a nucleic acid would be DNA. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, so just kind of switch around the words, simplify the words, write it in your own language, okay? Right? If I see super big words that I feel like at your academic level you might not be able to really understand, like you're writing at a college level of this information, I'll be a little bit more concerned, okay? So simplify it, write it in your own words, switch things around, but again, absolutely only use the information and examples in this lesson, okay? I don't want you looking on the internet. No internet. Thumbs up if that makes sense. No internet. Yeah, Annalise, I'm recording this right now, so there will be a YouTube version of it once I'm done with your class. So that'll be uploaded as your 11B recording, and the recordings are always uploaded around 2 o'clock. Okay? All right, so that being said, again, there are no more assignments after today. So again, you do have Wednesday and Thursday to catch up on anything that you're missing or have failed. That being said, Wednesday and Thursday classes per Insight policy are still mandatory, and they still are a part of your grade. However, obviously, if you're already passing and doing great at everything, you don't need to be there just sitting there for 45 minutes. So instead, what's going to happen is on those days, come to class. I'm just going to check your grades really quickly. If you're passing, I will, in the private chat, give you the last word and you are dismissed. Okay, so it'll be like a 2-minute process. If you are failing, it'll be a little bit of a longer process. I'll give you a small catch-up plan to make sure that you pass the course at the end of the quarter. But again, it's not going to be a 45-minute thing. It's just going to be like a 5-minute, here's what you need to do to get caught up. Do you have any questions? Once you're done with that, I will dismiss you, give you the last word so that you can go and actually get to work on that. Smiley faces if all of that makes sense, okay? So Wednesday, Thursday, please still come to class. But again, it's going to be super painless. We'll get it done, and then you can go do what you need to do. Cool. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead. We're going to jump into our information for today. So really quickly, let's review. On the whiteboard, use your circle tools. Tell me, are polymers the small or large molecule, and are monomers the small or large molecule? Go ahead. This is a quick review on the whiteboard. Tell me, what do you know? Think about the prefix poly. Think about the prefix mono. What do you guys think? Polymers, are they the small or large molecule? And then monomers, are they the small or large molecule? Looks like we're a little bit split. Again, don't just copy people before you, because sometimes the first person who puts things up might be a little bit confused. So don't just copy. Looking good, guys. Looking good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause your tool. So remind me, guys, the prefix poly, what does the prefix poly mean? Tell me in the chat box, what does the prefix poly mean? Yeah, we know this, guys. The prefix poly means many. So if you think about many molecules being brought together, do you think that's going to make a small or a large molecule? Many things brought together, do you think that's going to make something small or something large? Yeah, that's going to actually be a very large molecule. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, this is actually going to be a large molecule because we are bringing many things together. Awesome. Now monomer, what does the prefix mono mean? What does the prefix mono mean? Yeah, the prefix just means one or single or by itself, right? So if you think about mono, right, if you're just one person, do you think that's a small thing or a large thing? Just one, a single thing. Yeah, solo, by yourself. Yeah, it's going to be small, exactly. So this would make sense for the monomer to be the small thing. Okay, so keep in mind, monomers are the small one. Okay, so here's an example of a monomer, a small single unit. And if you take many of those units and you repeat them over and over and over again and link them together, that then makes our big molecule, which is our polymer. Okay, so you can see here, up here is the monomer, which is just one unit. One unit. And then the polymer, which is many units. So the polymer is going to be many units. Okay, thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so monomer is just the single one. Polymer is when we take many of those and put them together. Cool. Okay, so that being said, guys, the definition of polymers is they are large molecules, large, again, poly means many, large, that are made up of long chains of carbons. And again, when polymers are made, they're made up of repeating units being linked together called monomers. So you can see that again down here. Polymer has many repeating units. Each of those little units is called a monomer. So a natural example would be carbohydrates, which we also call polysaccharides. And again, poly meaning many, so many saccharides. And this carbohydrate is a polymer made up of repeating monosaccharides, right? So polysaccharides means many sugars. Monosaccharides means one sugar. So one sugar put together many times makes a carbohydrate. Smiley faces if you can see that up here, right? So we've got one sugar, two sugars, polysugars. Okay, those are carbohydrates. Okay. Now, a synthetic example would be plastic. So remember, the scientific word for plastic is polyethylene. Again, poly meaning many. You'll see this many times. You'll see this poly times, right? So polysaccharides, polyethylene. And polyethylene is just made up of many repeating ethylenes, right? So again, polyethylene meaning many ethylenes. Okay? So that would be an example of a synthetic polymer, where you take one ethylene, it undergoes a laboratory process called polymerization, making polyethylene. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, so you have a definition. Okay, you have what they are made up of, right? So you have your definition, you have what they're made up of, you have a natural example and a synthetic example. Now, what I'm going to have you guys do is you're going to open up your exam. Okay. Here's your link to your exam, okay? And once you have your exam open, you will notice that it asks in question number 1 for you to be watching this lesson or watching the recording if anyone is watching the recording. And this is the information that you need to answer question number 1. So I'm going to actually give you question number 1 in this video. It is not listed in the actual exam. Smiley faces if you guys see that. In the exam it says, what's question number, or answer question number 1. The question is in the recording, or the question is in the lesson. Okay, so here is the actual question, okay? So question number 1 says, what is the definition of a polymer? What's it made up of? I just went over this definition, what it's made up of. Provide one natural example and one synthetic example. Remember, the examples, you do need to explain them, okay? Just don't say a natural example is carbohydrates. You need to explain what a carbohydrate is, and you can't just say a synthetic example is plastic. You need to actually explain what plastic is. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Thumbs up if that makes sense. So we literally just went over the information that you need for question number 1. Okay, that being said, should we copy definitions, copy any of this information word for word? Should we copy any of this word for word? No. Again, absolutely use the definition, use the polymers here, but just kind of put it in your own words, right? So instead of saying polymers are large, maybe say polymers are something that are really big. They're made up of many carbons put together, that kind of thing. Instead of saying long chains, right? You can definitely use exactly what's here, but just put it in your own words. Switch up the words, simplify the language, okay? So this is the answers. This is what you need to answer question number 1. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. What you need to do during this time is you need to either be answering the question in the actual text box of the exam, or you need to be taking a picture of this and giving me a green check once you have taken a picture of it. Okay, so again, you get 3 minutes to work on this, and I need green checks from everyone once you've either taken a picture or you have actually answered the question. And even if you're answering the question, you might still want to take a picture in case 3 minutes isn't long enough. Smiley faces if you understand what we're about to do. Smiley faces if you understand. 3 minutes to answer, or take a picture, or do both. I really recommend doing both. Cool. All right, here's your 3 minutes. Work on question number 1. There you go. Go to work. All right, guys, I'm going to open up the main chat again. Tell me in the main chat, how are we doing? Do we need a little bit more time? Are we good? Have we taken a picture? Have we answered it? I do see about half of you have given me green checks. Let me know what's going on. Good, good. Okay. Again, this is your chance to speak up. Let me know. Okay, a little bit more time. Okay, no worries. Again, guys, I know that in the exam, the actual question is not written there. That is on purpose because I want people to actually watch the recording or come to class to do the questions together, okay? Because I do have a problem where people will just copy the question, put it into the internet, and their answer will be completely wrong because it's not the question I actually asked, okay? So the question is listed right here. This is the question that you're answering for number 1. And again, the information you need to answer, it's here. And once more, please use your own words. Okay, so I'm going to give you another 2 minutes. Again, I do need green checks once you have taken a picture or you have finished saving number 1. Go, go, go. All right, just waiting on a few more green checks. Adrian, Dalen, Gabriel, Haley, Jacob, Jasmine, Joshua, Kyrie, Kevin, Ricky, Saul, Siva, and Ty. Again, go ahead, give me a green check if you're good on number 1. At this point, if you aren't done, please make sure you take a picture And anything that you missed, again, will be in the recording, the 11B recording. So don't worry if you miss anything. Again, the recording will be posted around 2 o'clock, so you can finish up anything that you miss. Cool, guys. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So the next thing that we need to talk about is the importance of carbon. So remember that organic compounds, when we talk about the word organic, we mean anything that is living or that has ever lived, right? So you, me, dogs, bacteria, thinking like things that are made by organic beings like milk and honey, right? So organic compounds are compounds that are structured around carbon. Remember we talk about Star Trek and how they say, oh, this world is populated by carbon-based life forms. Again, carbon-based meaning organic, you and me. Okay, now carbon is so important, and the reason it's so important is, first off, it's a tiny atom, and because it's kind of tiny, this means that it's going to be very stable, and in addition, it only has 4 valence electrons. Okay, so if this is carbon, all right, its valence has 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons, right? And remember, in total, how many do all atoms want? In total, how many valence electrons do atoms want? Tell me in the chat box. Remember, it's called the rule of what? Rule of what? Yeah, the rule of 8, right? So that means that carbon actually has space for 4 more electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each of those spaces are what allow carbon to actually make bonds with other with other atoms, right? So you could make another bond here, another bond here, another bond here, and another bond here. So that means that carbon actually gets a total of 4 bonds to become stable. Yeah, this is why carbon is reactive and why carbon is so important, right? Because it gets 4 possible bonds, which is more than all the other atoms that we've talked about, right? So carbon can actually create 4 bonds, and this results in many types of structures. Take a look up here, right? So carbon can bond with 4 things, creating what you can see right here, this molecule. It can actually bond in such a way that it has 1 bond with hydrogen, 1 with this carbon, 2 with this carbon, so still a total of 4 bonds. And the result is it creates rings, right? So you can create rings of carbon, you can create branches of carbon, you can create chains of carbon, right? We can actually get carbons that are all chained together. Again, it can have single bonds, right? 1 carbon connected to 1 carbon. You can see a triple bond here. Carbon is attached to carbon 3 times, 3 bonds, or even a double bond, right? You can see 2 right here, bonded right here. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Because of carbon's versatility, it can create tons and tons of different types of structures, which is why it's so important that organic things are based off of this, because organic things can look very, very different. So some examples of organic compounds, carbon-containing compounds, right? These are carbon-containing compounds that we've talked about, are fossil fuels, right? Thinking about coal, oil, and natural gas, right? Fossil fuels can be burned, can create lots of energy. They're also called hydrocarbons. Remember, hydro meaning hydrogen, carbon meaning carbon. So fossil fuels are only made up of carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so again, they're carbon-containing, carbon-based though. Okay, now plastic, we literally just talked about plastic. Plastic is actually also considered organic, even though you might not think that it was once living. Plastic was in fact once living because it's made from fossil fuels, which are made from dead plants and animals, right? So plastic is actually made from dead plants and animals. Okay, plastic is also called polyethylene. Remember, poly meaning many ethylenes together, and ethylenes have carbon in them, right? I can show you back here. Right, ethylene is carbon-based. It has 2 carbons with a double bond, right? So when we polymerize it, it is a carbon chain. Okay, so polyethylene is carbon-based. And lastly, there's also what are called esters. Remember we talked about the banana Laffy Taffy? Smiley faces if you remember that. Banana Laffy Taffy has a super distinctive smell, and that smell comes from esters. So banana ester has a fruity banana smell, and it's made from taking an alcohol, which is a carbon-based compound containing OH, bonded with an acid. Okay, so when you take an alcohol, react it with an acid, it creates an ester, which still is carbon-based because the alcohol was also carbon-based, right? So now we have an organic compound that smells fruity. All right, thumbs up if you guys feel good about this. We know where carbon is found, why it's important, the different structures it can make, some examples. Awesome, guys. So again, here is question number 2. Okay, again, question number 2, you won't see it in your exam. It is written up here. So question number 2 is, why is carbon able to form many molecules? Right, we talked about this right here. What are 3 examples of some different structures? Those are listed right here. And then what are 3 examples of organic molecules? So I have some examples here. Okay, please remember to explain what the organic molecules are. So don't just say an example is hydrocarbons. You need to explain what hydrocarbons are. Don't just say an example is polyethylene. You need to explain what polyethylene is. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, so make sure you actually include the explanations here. Okay, cool guys. So this is number 2. I'm going to go ahead and give you 3 minutes to work on that. Again, after 3 minutes, you should either have taken a picture, or you should have answered question number 2 in its entirety and saved it. Or if you don't finish it, take a picture once we have hit 0. Okay, just to make sure everyone has green checks. All right, get started. Go to work. Go, 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 guys. All right, guys, go ahead and give me. Sorry, let me go ahead and turn on the main chat again. Yeah, so Ariana, you can use these examples. You should use these examples. So the 3 examples I've given you are hydrocarbons, polyethylene, and esters. So absolutely use these examples. Just remember that as you're writing the information, please go ahead and just kind of reword it, right? So instead of saying fossil fuels are also called hydrocarbons, you can say another word for a hydrocarbon is a fossil fuel, right? That kind of thing. Okay, smiley faces, guys, if that makes sense. Please use my examples. Please use my definitions, right? I don't want you copying anything from other sources. You should use exactly this information here. Just kind of flip around the words, rewrite it, use simpler words if need be. Just make it a little bit more your own so that you're not actually copying it. Okay, I do need a few more green checks. Again, at this point, go ahead and take a picture if you haven't finished answering, and then give me a green check just so I know that you have the information for yourself. For when we log out of here, okay? So Adrian, Annalise, Dalen, Elijah, Jacob, Jasmine, green checks please, Joshua, Kyrie, Kevin, Ricky, Saul, Siva, Stephen, Ty, green checks please. Cool. Yeah, you can print screen it as well. That's definitely a good strategy too. Cool, guys. All right, so let me go ahead. We're going to move on to our last section of information, which is about the 4 biological macromolecules. So that would be carbohydrates, lipids, proteins. Oh, sorry, Stephen. Yes, let me, yes, narwhals do exist. Narwhals are a real animal. So yes, they are carbon-based. Yeah. All right, so the last 4 things we're going to talk about are the 4 biological macromolecules, which are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, all of which are found in your bodies and found in other organisms' bodies. So remember, carbohydrates, the purpose of a carbohydrate is short-term energy. It's our main source of energy. So remember, you go running the first, like half of the time that you're running, so the first like 20 minutes or something, I don't know the exact data, but most of the time when you're doing exercise, you're burning carbohydrates. It's not until much later that you start burning off fats, which are also called lipids. We'll talk about that in a few moments. But carbs are short-term energy, our main source of energy. Remember that a carbohydrate, another word for a carbohydrate is a polysaccharide, and the polymer, right, is the polysaccharide, right? The big molecule, polymer, polysaccharide. If you were to break it down into its smaller pieces, though, its structure would be made up of a monomer called a monosaccharide. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, I had a picture of that back here. Right, so the monosaccharide is a single sugar. The polysaccharide is a much larger carbohydrate, and it is going to be many of those monosaccharides linked together. So that's the structure of a carbohydrate. And some examples are sugars and starches, right? Sugars are the simple ones. Those are going to be our monosaccharides, our single sugars, or our disaccharides, our double sugars. And starches are going to be the polysaccharides, the many complex multiple sugars put together to create something much larger. That would be a starch, okay? Now, lipids, also known as fats, right? Lipids are for long-term energy, right? Think about your body stores fat, and it's really hard to burn fat until you've worked out for a long time, right? Because first you have to use all your carbs. So first you use all your carbs, and then your body starts using these lipids, these fats. They are also useful for insulation and protection, right? Think about the fact that your organs are protected by fat, all right, which is actually important. That is why you store fat, is to help protect your organs, in addition to being long-term energy. And they also keep you warm, right? Think about when it's cold, the more fat you have, the warmer you are going to be, okay? Or for example, bears that hibernate, they store up a lot of fat before winter. Now their structure is they're going to be made up of a monomer called, which is made up of a glycerol head and fatty acid tails. So the monomer for a lipid looks like this, right? So we've got a head made of glycerol and then the tails, which are fatty acids. And if you put many of them together, that's going to give us a lipid, right? So the single monomer is the fatty acid tails and glycerol head. And then the overall polymer is the lipid. Smiley faces if that makes sense. Okay, so overall, this is our lipid polymer, whereas a single one of these, a single unit again, is our glycerol head and fatty acid tail, or the single unit. Cool. And again, examples of lipids are fatty things. So fats, oils, waxes, they are found in steroid hormones like testosterone and estrogen. Those are all examples of lipids. Okay? So our next two biological macromolecules are proteins and nucleic acids. So proteins, they have many roles, right? They're found in your muscles, in your hair and nails. They are found in hemoglobin, which is a protein that helps to transport oxygen in your blood. Enzymes that digest food are also proteins. The antibodies in your immune system that help fight off infection are also proteins. Structure-wise, a polymer of protein is what's called a polypeptide, and a monomer is what's called an amino acid. Okay, so the single unit is called the amino acid. Many of those put together makes a polypeptide, which eventually gets folded into a protein. No worries, Gabriel. Glad you were able to make it back. And examples of proteins are meats, eggs, milk, and beans, right? Now, nucleic acids are a little bit special. They're not necessarily like a food group. Instead, they're found in all organisms. So you do eat nucleic acids whenever you eat any type of food. It's not exactly what you would call like a food group, okay? But the nucleic acids, their purpose is in our cells. They are the hereditary material or genetic blueprint that builds you as an organism. Okay? It has all the instructions on how to build you as a person, okay? Yeah, exactly, Tucker. It's just in the cells, right? Its structure, the monomer that makes up a nucleic acid is what's called, oh, sorry, this is incorrect. It's called a nucleotide. Okay, let me fix that really quick, guys. It's called a nucleotide. And nucleotides themselves are made up of phosphates, sugars, and nitrogen bases, okay? But the single unit is what's called a nucleotide. And some examples are going to be DNA, RNA, and ATP. Remember, DNA is the blueprint. RNA helps to build that blueprint into an actual thing. And ATP is the energy molecule that your muscles use. So these are all examples of nucleic acids. Okay, smiley faces, guys, if you feel good about those four things. Smiley faces if you feel good about those four things. Perfect. Okay, guys, so here we go. Question number 3, again, you won't see it in the actual exam. It's only listed in this lesson slide. So question number 3 asks, what are the names of the 4 biological macromolecules? Right, so carbs, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. It asks, what's their purpose? You'll see I've listed the purpose of all of them. And you'll see the structure, right? What is the monomer specifically that makes up this macromolecule, and then provide an example, which I've provided you with many examples that you could use for this. Now, really important again, guys, please put this in complete sentences, okay? Complete sentences. Okay, so you'll notice I did give you sentence starters in the table that you see in your answer box. Smiley faces if you guys see that. There are sentence starters there. Okay, so you can finish the sentence. You don't have to restart the sentence. You can just finish the sentence in the box. But again, you shouldn't just say short-term energy, main source of energy, because that's not a complete sentence. You need to put it in your own words and say carbohydrates are the short-term energy that your body uses. They're also the main source of energy, right? So just make sure that you put it in a sentence. Don't just say polymer equals polysaccharide. I'll give you a 0 because I'll know that you just copied, and I'll know that you didn't actually follow my instructions of putting things in complete sentences and rewriting it in your own words. Thumbs up if you understand. Thumbs up if you understand. Thumbs up. Again, put it in complete sentences. Okay, so that being said, guys, we are almost out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and have you guys take a picture of this and give me a green check when you have a picture of it. All right, sorry, not 3 minutes. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. 30 seconds to give me a green check, letting me know that you have this information copied somewhere. Again, if for some reason you lose your picture or whatever, or you're having a trouble taking a picture, again, the recording will be up at 2 o'clock. So don't freak out. It's just, if you want to finish it now, I want you to have the picture. Okay, green checks, please. 10 seconds left, green checks. Once you have taken a picture of this, want to make sure everyone's got this for when we log out. Right, that way you don't have to wait for the recording. Perfect. All right, guys. So that being said, here is your last word. Thanks for being with me today. Your last word of the day is done, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Again, please stop in quickly tomorrow so that we can do a grade check, and then I'll let you go tomorrow. Super easy. Bye, guys. Okay, no worries, Kim. All right, guys. Let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, I need to go. Oh, no. All right, guys, I will see you later. I'm going to turn off our recording now.